YouTube. Hope everybody's having a great day. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Little bit of a different video today. So in today's episode, we're going to be looking, this was a super exciting finish to the North American Challengers Finals. So before we get into this one, again, super tight map, really exciting, some big plays made both at the beginning and towards the end. We'll cover it all for you. But if you're not big into the Challenger side, we'll just go ahead, we'll lay the team outs for you. Top right hand corner of your screen, you can see that is Team Triumph. You have Felony, Diamond Con, Standy, Royalty, and Nagafin. Obviously some names that you've seen from Call of Duty's past, but in the CDL these guys have been relegated a little bit to the Challengers Cup. Hopefully next year they can get picked up as hopefully the league expands. We don't know what's going to happen, but more teams the better. Real quick on Triumph, as of late, I do want to let you guys know how they've done as of late. So at CDL Toronto, they placed 7th and 8th, which obviously isn't the best challenge finish that they're looking for. At CDL London, they did place 2nd. At New York, they were 4th. At Challengers Cup number 5 in North America, they were 7th and 8th. And then before that, at CDL Paris, they placed 2nd in the Challengers Cup. So they've had a little bit of a bumpy ride, right? They've placed 2nd, they've placed 7th and 8th, they've placed 4th. So this is a big spot for them to be in. And then if we go ahead and look at Carnage, top left-hand corner, you can see the names up there, Ryza, Gunzi, Nightmare Hunt, those guys. And it's been a little bit better for them. So as of late, CDL Toronto, they placed 4th. London, they placed 5th, 6th. But at Florida Mutineers, those bounties, they won both of those. At CDL New York, they placed 3rd. At Game Battles, they did a tournament, the Premium 1000 Search and Destroy tournament. They placed 3rd and 4th. So these guys have been playing all over the place, and it's just kind of ranged kind of from, you know, placing 1st to placing 7th and 8th to placing 4th. So it's not like there's either of these teams are a dynasty in the Challengers League whatsoever. So just in case you're not all that familiar with what's going on in the Challengers Cup, just figured I would go ahead and lay it out for you. Again, tournament after tournament, one team does well. Atlanta FaZe, their amateur team does well, and it's just kind of all over the place. So as we go ahead and actually get into the analysis for this one, really good start for Carnage here. So Carnage did get the spawn on the right-hand side of the map. So as you'd expect, leaving P1, they were able to do a decent job of contesting and getting time inside of P1, but when it went to P2, they got all that time inside the best hard point in the game, right? That's the hardest one statistically to break of any hard point, any map in the single game. So they did a really nice job of just locking that down. But what I'm super impressed with, and this is something that the pro teams, even like the Chicago Huntsmen, we've seen them struggle against teams like the New York Subliners trying to get out from P2, and Carnage did a really nice job, right? This is an unbelievable start for them. They got all that time inside of P2. As soon as P2 ended, they were able to push up mid-map, and they were able to get time inside of P3. Again, you don't see it very often. And now as we look at the minimap, let's go ahead, let's pause this for the very first time. Let's bring up the minimap. You can see right now, if you're looking in the top left-hand side of your screen, P5 would be back here. So as it rotates to P4, we're about 5 seconds away from rotating to P4. As soon as that happens, you want to try to lock down these spawns right here. So Diamond Con is still down here towards the bottom for Triumph, but think about what Carnage has done so far. They've been able to lock down P2. They've been able to get the majority of the time inside of P3. And now they're getting these spawns as they try to work towards P4. So even if they give up 40 seconds inside of P4, if they can keep these back spawns and get 40 seconds inside of P5, you're looking at a 140 to 70 lead going into the second set of rotation. So far it's been a super good start for them. As we go ahead and get back into this one, let's see what happens if they're able to continue this up as they push from the top side of P4. I really like this push right here. I like the fact that they jumped up top, try to hit that pinch from behind. Excellent two-piece right there. And man, when it comes to the slaying, they slayed out and held P2. They slayed out, were able to push up, get time in P3. And now we're getting, that's a 10 streak right there. So Pirsama is 14-7. He's currently on a 10 streak before he ends up going down right there. That's just an incredible start. And that's exactly what we were talking about in that little break that we had just a moment ago, right? If you're Carnage, just be able to get in. Even if you give up 30 or 40 points, that's fine. But just make sure that you're keeping pressure on the P4 hill so that Triumph can't escape and put pressure on P5. Because if you're able to just keep a couple of, or if you're just able to thwart a couple of of pushes on the top hand side of the map from Triumph, then you're going to be able to have a massive lead, and P2 is not going to be all that important, right? So if you're thinking about Carnage, they're now getting the left-hand side of the map, mini-map, bottom left-hand corner. I'm going to draw on it real quick. So they do have control right here, and they just ended up giving it up. So they gave up the bottom side of the map. Let's go ahead, and a lot of things are happening right here. So let's pause this and just make sure that we're covering all of our bases. So as Triumph, this was a fantastic job. As they left P4, what happened is they were able to push out over towards top L and bottom L. They were also able to push out mid-map. And once they got into this location, this is the more dominant spawn, because as soon as you get pressure up towards the hill, what that does is that takes Team Carnage and it spawns them all the way the right side of P4. So now as Team Carnage tries to get towards P5, they have two routes to go, right? You have to go through that top choke point by blue, or you can go up top heaven. It just takes a little bit more time to get up there, and basically somebody is always watching that. So if you're Team Carnage, you did a really nice job of getting that initial map position for P5, but you gave up the bottom side of the map. As soon as you get just a couple down from that push on the bottom side of the map, you can see Nagafin got a two-piece down there. They pushed in towards the hill, and now all of a sudden you're spawning out. So a little bit of an unfortunate series of events right there if you're a member of Team Carnage, but we'll see what happens as we move forward here. I like the fact that they're being a little bit more patient, right? So now things have changed a little bit, because if you're Team Carnage, obviously you want to get in, you want to try to contest inside of P5, but the number one thing, even if you give up the rest of these 30 seconds, you're still going to have a 10-point lead going back into the second set of rotations, and you can just capitalize on getting that map control for P2. So as you're watching this, look at the right-hand side of the minimap. As this plays out, you can see that there's a battle for number 7 right there. It was Diamond Khan. He does get a tilt. Diamond Khan gets a kill on Pirasama, and they are pushing out that right-hand side of the map, right? That's what we're watching. We're watching the battle for P2 up there, and finally Hunt and Ryza both get a two-piece, so it does look like Team Carnage is going to end up winning that rotation right there. But that's the sort of stuff you have to watch as it rotates from P5 to P2, because it's not really all that important getting time inside of P1. Of course, you want to be able to get as many points as you can on each and every single hill, but if Triumph wins rotations right there, then they can work backwards and start worrying about time inside of P1. Most important thing is trying to get all those 60 seconds inside of P2. What I will say is that Royalty just got a 3-piece inside of P1. Standy got 2 with an 8. Unfortunately, one of them was Royalty, but they're doing a nice job of capitalizing on this time inside of P1. And we talk about this when we do pro scrims all the time. Yeah, it's super important to get those rotations for P2, but if you don't earn those rotations for P2, you better get as much time as you possibly can inside of P1 to try to counter how much time is going to come from the opposite team when it comes to P2, right? So if you're Triumph, it was great that you were able to get time inside of P1, even though you didn't win those rotations for P2. And now as we move forward here, you can see Carnage, the game is already tied. And think about that. Carnage had such a good start to this map that they essentially lost P4, they lost P5, and they didn't get the majority of the time inside of P1, and they still have a lead already, right? They're going to get, you expect them to get the last 37 seconds here, although Royalty and Standy and Nagafin all getting kills, and there it goes. So this is something that you just don't see very often, right? You almost, again, you can lay out all the stats. This is the single hardest, the most difficult hard point to break on every single hard point, every single map in Modern Warfare. So that was just a super nice job of Triumph of getting in, being able to just mix things up a little bit, right? They just made it difficult. It's not like somebody went in and they got 5 down, they got a team wipe, and they flipped. That's not what happened, but they were able to get in and contest. And now as it rotates to P3, instead of being down by 50 or 60 points like you would have expected because they weren't having pressure inside of P2, as it rotates to P3, now they're inside P3 and they're regaining, they're putting more time onto their lead. But again, this is the same thing that happened first set of rotations. Carnage is doing a really nice job. It's only, well, it is about 20 seconds off the clock already inside of P3, but they've been able to gain map control. And we talked about the struggles that some pro teams have had getting out of P2 once you've had control of P2. And that's the exact opposite that's happening for Carnage right here. They're not being stuck inside of P2, unable to get map control and up towards P3. Now, again, the biggest thing to watch is, are they going to be able to gain those left-hand side spawns? And you can see it developing right now. So, unfortunately, who was that? Ryza goes down. But if you're Team Carnage, you're getting kind of this middle of the map spawn. Reason why you're getting that is because Triumph has pressure top and bottom side of the map. So they're just kind of spawning middle of the map. But as this is happening, you could see all of these red arrows. There were 4 people from Team Carnage bottom side of the map. So what I'm looking to develop right here is to push through P1. Once you get to top L and bottom L, pushing out the bottom side of the map, and you might lose time inside of P4, right? You might not get the majority of that time inside of P4, but if you can just go ahead and contest inside of P4, then get a full 60 inside of P5, that's kind of their route to come back and win right here. Whereas if you're Team Triumph, you just want to get into P4, get as much time as you can, because even if, say they get 30 seconds inside of P4, right? So if Triumph leaves P4 and they've got 220, it's like a 220 to 180 ball game. Even if you give up all of that time inside of P5 to Carnage, you're not going to end up losing on P5. So you can be a little bit more aggressive when it comes towards pushing P4. And that's exactly what you're seeing right now. Really great job out of Triumph. They're just sitting. They have 3 people inside of P4, and there's 20 seconds off the clock, and it's just now starting to be contested by Carnage. Now, again, bottom side of the map, you can see that Carnage is spawning back towards that back yellow spawn. So they do have to get in contest. You don't want to give up all of this time, but right now, Triumph. Now, again, it flipped again. Man, this is going back and forth over and over again. So Carnage was spawning bottom side of the map. They got flipped out. Triumph was spawning bottom side of the map. They got flipped out, and now Carnage is there, and they're also contesting inside of P5. So if you're thinking about the future here, yeah, they're going to end up giving up the last 6 seconds here, but this is more or less a tie ball game. That's a great kill right there from Royalty. What that does, so just real quick, what that kill does, again, minimap bottom left-hand corner, if we're watching this kill right here, so Royalty was right here. He was able to wall bang Ryza as he was sitting in back yellow. And what that's going to do, as soon as they push through, so as soon as Team Triumph goes from this bottom side of the map and pushes through, there's nobody else to keep them from spawning on the bottom side of the map. So even if all of these gun battles right here become contested, it's not going to matter because they're still going to get that closer spawn, right? If we're looking at the 2 spawns right now, even if everything is inside the hill, it's all contested. Triumph is going to get spawned right here, and you can already see the spawns that Carnage is getting. Carnage is spawning all the way up here. So if you're thinking about what's closer, obviously we've talked about this probably 100 times on my channel over the course of the last 7 or 8 months. But right now, if you're Triumph, even though you only have a 7-point lead, you're the team that is set up to win this matchup just because you're getting those spawns. Right there, Royalty goes down, so the first people in go down. Carnage has control of the hill. It just doesn't matter because as they come up off of spawn, you can see exactly that Triumph is spawning much closer. Now, if you're Carnage, sure, you can even get a 2-piece. You can even win the slaying battle, but if you don't have control of the bottom side of the map, and that's what you're seeing right here. Look at the minimap. Notice all the red arrows. They're pushing the bottom side of the map. They're trying to get that bottom spawn so that even if they can get in, and this is exactly what you want if you're Carnage, this is played really well. In terms of strategy, if you're Carnage, you could have just freaked out and just hit the hill over and over again and just thrown all of your strategy out the window, but they didn't do that. Unfortunately, Felony goes off, Nagafin goes off, Standy goes off, and when it comes down to it, all the clutch kills go the way of Triumph, and that's how they end up with the 250 to 207 victory. So this was super exciting for me. I love the way that this one finished. I think that both of these teams are super well coached. They know how to play the game the right way. They hit the right spawns. Even there towards the end, Carnage did spawn out, but they hit the right side of the map. So it was really entertaining to watch, which fortunately or hopefully for the future makes me excited that maybe one of these teams can be picked up by maybe an expansion roster, whether it's 100T or Rise Nation, or who knows who else could come in. But I really had a ton of fun watching the finals here. I think both these teams did a great job, and it has me excited. We're now only a couple days away from the first matchups in the Call of Duty League finals in COD Champs 2020. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. I'll be getting my predictions out here over the next couple days. So if you're curious who I think is going to win, make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss those videos. Leave a like, leave a comment down below. Thanks guys so much for all the support as of late. We will see you in tomorrow's upload.